Roddus back again with another video. Yet again. Yeah, okay, mailman's been. There's a few things turned up. And what's playing in the background, this is very, very cool. I really am enjoying this. This is Tiny Pieces of 8 Sea Shanties for Frank. Now, this is quite interesting. This is number 81 of 200. Out of Dunedin, never heard of them before. This has just come out. This lady has put out a record. Now, what is her name? I've got my reading glasses on. I've got my work glasses on. I don't know. Anyway, this lady, she put a record out called Tiny Pieces of 8 under her own name a few years back. It was only digital only, I think, on Bandcamp. And then they've got this done. Now, I'm really enjoying this. This is a great little record. What they did was they got it pressed up at Holiday Records up in Auckland, which is our new New Zealand pressing plant. The first one back in New Zealand, I mentioned that, the first one in New Zealand for nearly 30 years. Or actually 30 years. And they're doing small runs, sort of 200, 300, 500 sort of runs, I think, of records for locals, I guess. So far I've got 2 records that they've pressed up, which are really good. You know, the vinyl sounds really good. Musically, this is awesome. And also what they did is they basically bought the records and then they made up the covers themselves. So what they did is they got this old record cover, and you won't be able to see it, but in there is the original record art, and it is actually an old Ralph Vaughan Williams, or a Vaughan Williams piece. Donna Nobis Pacem towards the unknown region, blah blah blah. You know, so classical. I mean, old classical records you can pick up for next to nothing, 50 cents each or whatever. You know, and so they basically, what they did was they reverse engineered the covers, screen printed them with the art on the front, made up this little booklet here and put that in it. So yeah, all very handmade, really cool. Probably you can actually see the glue, the original internal glue marks along the back there. So yeah, probably the only time where it's actually acceptable for a brand new record to have a seam split. So hopefully this record will cover. It's a bit flimsy. The original album was a bit flimsy, but hopefully they've glued it nice and well so it'll hold up. So yeah, really great music. Yeah, there's a bit of lots of mixes of stuff on it. Anyway, okay, so yeah, really impressed about that. That turned up last week. Bought that directly from the band themselves. They had a gig down in Dunedin where they were selling copies, but of course I don't live anywhere near Dunedin, so I got hold of them via Facebook and asked them to send me a copy. Picked this up. This was on back order. It had been on back order for quite a while. Originally about 3 or 4 months ago, and there was a big hold up on it, and so it finally has turned up. So this is a compilation of 7-inch singles and outtakes and live, previously unreleased, mostly unreleased material. An unreleased 7-inch. Yeah, pretty much all unreleased there actually, although there's some songs from 2015 and 16, and then going back to 1999 and right back to 1991 and 93. So yeah, Peter Jeffries, I've shown his stuff before. He was in the Nocturnal Projections, and along with his brother Graham, just read a book. Graham Jeffries has written a book about his career in music through the Cake Kitchen and going right back to the Nocturnal Projections and the This Kind of Punishment. So yeah, I've only listened to this a couple of times, haven't had a chance to absorb it very well yet, so I can't say too much more about it. In my last video I showed a copy of volume 2 of this series, J-Jazz, Deep Modern Jazz from Japan from 1969 to 84. So this is the first volume. This is a 3 record set like the second volume, out on BBE Records. So this isn't particularly much different from the second volume. Pretty much the same sort of music, a mix of styles, but not extreme mix. There's a bit of bop and modern compositional kind of jazzy sort of big bandy stuff. Some sort of slightly fusiony sort of stuff. Yeah, pretty cool compilation. But as I said, I made a comment. I don't know if I said it on the last one as well, but this is, I mean, it's great recordings, great playing, nice music, good music, nothing wrong with the music, but it's not as wild as I was hoping from Japan. You know, Japan, they make some pretty wild music over there. Pretty much not much anything freeform on here, or free music much at all. I mean, I'm sure there's some improvisation happening, but it's all pretty straight ahead stuff. So I like it, but I don't love it. It's not, I think the words I said, actually I made a comment on one of James Buttery's videos this morning about this sort of stuff. I like the music, I like the playing, but it hasn't got a lot of emotional impact. It's very clinical, very clean. Yeah, I mean, it makes for good listening while I'm reading, but to sit down and actually listen to it, it doesn't really fire me up. But I mean, I don't want to say bad things about it, because it is really good music, but it's just, yeah, it hasn't got an emotional impact for me, and it's not particularly wild. It's pretty straight ahead, pretty safe jazz, to be honest. And out of Japan, I was a bit surprised about that, but it's a compilation that was put together in the UK by UK people, so that's what they're into, obviously. Still great compilations. And then Roger, if you're watching, of course you will recognise this because you're the one who showed this and put me onto it. Universal Beings, Micaiah McCraven, who is a drummer. This is 4 sides of live recordings that were then taken back to the studio and mastered and added to and fleshed out a bit. This isn't particularly wild either, but it's pretty damn good. This is really to the minute jazz. I mean, up to the moment jazz for, you know, in the world at the moment. Yeah, I really like it. There's quite a lineup of musicians, but they're not all playing at the same time, because there's across there's 4 gigs. Oops. There's 4 sides being recorded. 1 in New York, 1 in Chicago, 1 in London, and 1 in Los Angeles. There is some sort of electronic kind of stuff happening on this, I think, that kind of mixed in. So yeah, a little bit like what Mark Clove Lowe has been doing with his music. So, you know, I've been showed his records, a couple of his records, not too distant past. So yeah, really good. I think this will grow on me a bit more and I mean, yeah, I kind of sensed it, that it was actually really good. Listened to it, I got a sense from it that it is really, really good, and it's a little bit more adventurous. It doesn't sound adventurous, but it sounds a bit hard to describe. I don't know, it's got an impact. International Anthem Recording Company is the record label, and also from them, and again, Roger, thank you for putting me onto this, and I'm sure a few in the VT has seen this cropping up, from 2015, Irreversible Entanglements. Now this is free jazz, this is much more free, and this has a massive emotional impact for me. This was an incredible record, the first listen. Kame Aiwa is the voice, and she is reciting, she is obviously an African American, and she is reciting the black experience in the US, the African American experience. And this took me right back to Gil Scott Heron's first record that he put out in the early 70s, with his black revolutionary poetry, where he spouted a lot of vitriol towards the white man, which was, you know, to be expected, really, the way that they've been treated for the last 200 years or more. And this is the same, but Projects was the track on the last side that really got to me. That's very emotional. Just a piece on the existence, on their existence. So it's maybe not so much political, but more just a I don't know, just her experience, and it comes across. She's fantastic. She has a lot of energy and a lot of passion, and it really comes across, and the backing up of the musicians on this really come across and support her in a massively big way. This is an incredible record. I absolutely am stunned. Thank you, Roger, again for putting me onto it. It was the first listen was a pretty emotional experience, and then finally today has arrived, and I've had a listen to them, well, most of them. Finders Keepers Records, who I showed in my last video, put out that double LP compilation of the Nurse with Wound stuff, the compilation based on Nurse with Wound selections from the Nurse with Wound list, which I show. That album, I was looking at their discography on their website and on Discogs and stuff like that, and they had this compilation that caught my eye, and this is the first one. Musique Concrète. This is a reissue of an original compilation from 1960 on BAM Records out of France. We got a bit of Xenakis, Luc Ferrari, and Michael Philpott, Paris Chauffeur. This is kind of the extreme end of music. I mean, it doesn't get much weirder than this stuff, really. The liner notes on the back are pretty intellectual, highbrow sort of shit. I really struggle with them, to be honest. I I'm sure if you're a highly educated musicologist and teaching at university or whatever, you'd probably understand this a lot more than I could. Still, anyway, Musique Concrète, to me, I had in my mind that, Edvard Varese. Edvard Varese, I can't remember how you say his first name. Yeah, Varese. His earlier works from the 20s and 30s, I absolutely love them, and I thought that's kind of what Musique Concrète was. That kind of chaotic sounding orchestral, works. He did go on and do electronic stuff later on, and they are also considered that Musique Concrète, I believe, and he was mentioned on one of these records I'm showing you. The music here. So this is supposedly composed sounds, and they sound so very random. It's okay, but it's kind of clinical and cold. So I'm not sure, there's no melodies or rhythms or anything like that. It's very, very random sounding electronic noise, quite sparse in places. So yeah, interesting record, but I'm not sure. And then later on, a couple of years later, in 1962, they put out this one, and I've got through side one. This I actually enjoyed a bit more. This is more organic. So this is more experimental, not so composed to strict things. There is also more human interaction here. There are actual instruments involved, not purely electronic. So there are pianos and other orchestral things on some of these tracks, and voice. So I found this, a bit more easier to connect to, and there's a lot more droning happening. A lot more drone on this. There's no drone on the other one. I think the drone is where it comes, what makes it stand out a bit more. Really got to listen to it some more. I've only had the one listen so far this morning, but pretty cool. Like to hit that. And from 1962 originally on BAM Records out of France. This is the Finders Keepers reissue from 2017, and I got them from Amazon, and they weren't that expensive, to be honest. So I was sort of thinking the Musique Concrète one was the one I was going to be more interested in, but it actually turned out, as it does, that this is actually, I think, the better compilation. It's got more organic human feel to it, whereas the other one is very cold and clinical and a little bit, and pretty weird. I mean, they're both pretty weird. I don't think music gets much weirder than that. Anyway, that's me, another quick video. I won't prattle on anymore. I'll leave you to it. This will get posted in a few weeks. Got a heap coming tomorrow. There was a big sale at Flying Out. That should arrive here tomorrow. I've got 3 records coming from U-Post. They should be here tomorrow. And then a couple more bunches of records. I've got a Discogs purchase that's on its way, and a couple of records off Bandcamp, which I am still waiting to arrive. Anyway, happy vinyl hunting.